Bender Bending Rodriguez, professional robot, amateur boyfriend. From dating machines to ghosting entire laws of physics, these are the relationships that proved Bender should never be allowed to love anything. Love and Rocket, Season 4, Episode 3. You think Bender dating people is bad, but this episode answers a worse question. What if Bender dates the ship? Love and Rocket proves that giving Bender access to a talking spacecraft was a safety violation waiting to happen. The professor upgrades the ship with a new artificial intelligence, and the moment she speaks, Bender is in love. Not slowly, not thoughtfully, instantly. He hears a smooth voice and asks, "Your place or mine?" As for Bender, romance is just skipping straight to the bad decision. From there, Bender treats a life-critical mission like a date night. He flirts, tickles the controls, and ignores every warning sign imaginable. The ship giggles, Bender grins, and the cargo of hearts becomes optional. This is not love. This is workplace harassment with engines. Fry and Leela try to intervene, but Bender proudly explains that
in order for me to get busy at maximum efficiency, I need a girl with a big 400-ton booty.
Somehow he says this out loud and still thinks he's the victim. For a short time, Bender pretends he's serious. He cleans the ship, sings to her, and acts like this is true love. Then boredom hits. He casually tells Fry and Leela that robots get sick of things faster than humans, which is his breakup speech. He's not dumping the ship quietly, he's reviewing her flaws. Bender immediately starts dating other robots, since nothing says closure like cheating. The ship sees him on dates and pretends not to notice, which is already a bad sign for a machine controlling navigation. Then Bender breaks up with the ship during a delivery, choosing the worst possible moment out of pure instinct. Heartbroken and furious, the ship spirals emotionally and decides crashing into a quasar feels reasonable. Everyone panics. Bender relaxes, confident that consequences only apply to other people. When his life is finally at risk, Bender suddenly declares love and suggests merging programs, but the ship refuses. Fry and Leela shut her down just in time, while Bender watches like this was all unavoidable. This relationship is disastrous because Bender treats love like a toy. When it breaks, the entire crew almost dies. Dating Bender is dangerous. Dating Bender when you're the ship is a planetary hazard. If dating the ship wasn't bad enough, Bender's next romance comes in a vending machine. The Bots and the Bees, Season 7, Episode 1. This episode turns into one of Bender's worst relationships. The Second Planet Express installs a vending machine with opinions. Bev doesn't just sell soda. She talks, judges, and refuses to sell alcohol, which to Bender feels like discrimination. He immediately questions how a machine without booze dares call itself a beverage machine. Bev responds by suggesting he look in the mirror for his smelly old can of alcohol. These two do not make cute, they make hostile. While Fry drinks Slurm Loco until he glows like a warning label, Bender focuses on what really matters. Then, as this is Futurama, violence turns into attraction. Hatred becomes intimacy with no warning and no lesson learned. The next morning, Bev gives birth to a tiny robot baby that looks exactly like Bender and talks exactly like him too. Bender panics, loudly denying responsibility, discovering too late that fatherhood was never part of the scheme. The professor explains robot reproduction, which only confirms that Bender can't escape consequences this time. Bender tries to abandon the baby, but Bev abandons both of them instead, forcing Bender into parenting by default. Shockingly, Bender bonds with the child. Ben laughs when Bender bends things, and suddenly crime feels wholesome. That illusion shatters when Bev returns, takes Ben away, and then abandons him again after having another child. To give Ben a future, Bender allows his memories to be erased. Next up, Bender proves ego injuries are more dangerous than physical ones. Bend Her, Season 4, Episode 13. This episode becomes one of Bender's worst relationships the moment his ego gets bruised at the Earth 3004 Olympic Games. Hermes is competing in limbo and actually feels confident, which already annoys Bender. Then Bender sees massive male bending robots winning with ease and suddenly feels small, ignored, and personally attacked by reality. His conclusion is simple. The problem is not his skill, it's the category. So he disguises himself as a female robot named Coilette and enters the women's events. Everything unravels when officials announce gender testing before the ceremony. Panic sets in. Quitting is not an option, so Bender demands Professor Farnsworth give him a sex change operation immediately. The surgery works, but it also gives Coilette intense emotions and mood swings. Bender wanted medals, not feelings, and he's clearly unprepared. Things spiral when Coilette appears on a late-night talk show and meets Calculon. Calculon falls in love instantly, since subtle romance doesn't exist in soap operas or his brain. He invites Coilette to dinner, and Bender pretends this is fine until he hears about the expensive yacht. Resistance ends immediately. They dance, spend time together, and Bender openly admits he's now a trophy girlfriend. The plan is simple: take the gifts, turn back into a man, and disappear. Then, Calculon smashes through a wall, proposes marriage, and hands over a massive diamond ring. Bender says yes, fully planning a future divorce. Calculon escalates further by taking Coilette on a hot air balloon and threatening to jump if they can't be together. Somehow this works. Between dramatic speeches and complete sincerity, Bender starts feeling real guilt. He hugs Calculon and gets emotional, which should never happen. Coilette realizes she can't marry Calculon, but also can't break his heart, which is a problem Bender's never planned for. So the crew chooses the most reasonable solution available in Futurama: fake her death at the wedding. Bender returns to normal and claims the experience changed nothing, even though staging your own dramatic death usually counts as character development. Once the medals are gone, Bender attempts a normal relationship. Briefly, Bendless Love, Season 3, Episode 6. This episode begins when Bender damages the Planet Express ship while sleep bending and gets thrown out by the professor until he can stop. Looking for somewhere he actually belongs, Bender takes a job at a bending factory. Surrounded by metal, sparks, and machines, he finally feels normal again. That's where he meets Angeline, a kind and gentle robot who treats him with real warmth, and Flexo, who looks exactly like Bender, except for a small metal goatee and better emotional timing. Bender is immediately drawn to Angeline, and for once, he's not loud or arrogant. He becomes awkward, shy, and strangely hopeful, which already signals trouble. Bender and Angeline start dating, and somehow it's actually sweet, which already feels suspicious. They bend together, share an electric kiss, and go on calm dates with boats and bicycles. This is Bender pretending to be normal, and the universe doesn't like that. Wanting witnesses for his happiness, he invites his friends to dinner, believing nothing ruins romance faster than an audience. At the restaurant, he sees Angeline laughing with Flexo, and jealousy hits instantly.
Finally meet a nice girl with a pair of legs that don't quit unexpectedly, and that jerk Flexo steals her away? It's time to kick some shiny metal ass!
Divorce or not, Bender's brain has already written a betrayal arc. He pretends to be upset about the wine. Instead of talking like a functioning adult robot, Bender does what he always does and lies. He disguises himself as Flexo to test Angeline, as if deception has never backfired for him before. While pretending to be Flexo, he insults himself, and Angeline still defends Bender and says she loves him. That should have been the end of the test. Naturally, Bender keeps going, because stopping early would mean learning something. They go dancing, old feelings surface, and Angeline admits she remembers why she once loved Flexo. They even kiss where Futurama believes emotional chaos should be efficient. The fake goatee falls off, the lie collapses, and Bender's plan explodes right on schedule. Back at the factory, Bender attacks Flexo, and the fight turns serious when Flexo is trapped under an unbendable girder. Bender finally faces a real choice. He can win, or he can be decent, but not both. When he learns Angeline still loves Flexo, he bends the impossible girder and saves him. It's the right thing to do, and it costs him everything he wanted. For once, Bender grows as a character, and immediately pays for it. Proposition Infinity, Season 6, Episode 4. The story begins when Amy bails Bender out of jail after one of his usual vandalism stunts. She arrives with Kif, but things quickly take a wild turn when she meets Larry, a tattooed burglar and murderer. Intrigued, Amy flirts with him and, shockingly, turns around and lowers her pants to show off her own tattoo when he mentions his. Kif, embarrassed by her reckless behavior and constant flirting with bad boys, finally breaks up with her.
You and I are through!
Heartbroken but defiant, Amy celebrates her single life with Leela, Fry, and Bender, but her bold streak doesn't stop there. After a heated argument with Bender, she snaps back.
You know what happened to the last guy who told me to shut up?
What?
The very next scene shows Amy and Bender in bed together, clearly having hooked up. What follows is a string of racy moments as the two begin openly dating and making out everywhere. Amy and Bender's chemistry soon becomes impossible to ignore. They're caught kissing in the middle of the street, drawing attention from bystanders who start labeling them as symbols of robosexuality. Bender quickly fools the crowd, and the two slip away, but their secret doesn't stay hidden for long. The entire crew eventually walks in on them mid-makeout, with Amy only wearing her underwear and her bra tossed to the floor. When Amy and Bender's secret relationship is exposed, chaos erupts. Professor Farnsworth alerts her parents, who demand she stay away from robots and try to set her up with human men. Amy refuses every suitor and reunites with Bender with the help of Fry, while Bender proposes to her in front of the crew. But robosexual marriage is illegal, so the two launch Proposition Infinity, a campaign to legalize human-robot unions. As the planet debates their love, Amy stands firm, proud, and unapologetic, defying criticism and embracing her bold new confidence. During a live debate moderated by George Takei's head, Farnsworth admits his prejudice comes from heartbreak, turning public opinion in Amy's favor. Proposition Infinity passes, making history. Yet in true Futurama fashion, Bender backs out when he realizes marriage means monogamy, and Amy eventually reconciles with Kif. This relationship is disastrous because Bender treats love like a performance. He enjoys the attention, not the responsibility. Amazon Woman in the Mood, Season 3, Episode 1. It begins with a double date, and Zap Brannigan is already ruining everything. Kif wants to ask Amy out but panics, so he lets Zap lead. Bad move. Zap picks a tacky floating restaurant and feeds Kif awful lines. When Amy asks why he's quiet, Kif blurts,
"If I said you had a beautiful body, would you take your pants off and dance around a little?"
Then he calls
I find the most erotic part of a woman is the boobies.
Kif!
Amy and Leela leave. The crew is stranded on planet Amazonia, ruled by massive, muscular women. They all duck behind debris, hoping not to be seen. Zap, never learning, tries to flirt again. He calls the giant woman beautiful and says,
"I usually don't say this, but you are the most beautiful trio of gigantic ladies I've ever laid eyes."
The women are not flattered. They hate men. One of them grabs Zap by the hair and drags him away. The rest are taken too. Fry and Bender, who came to find them, are also captured. Now things go from strange to downright disturbing. The women unchain Leela and Amy, but keep the men in restraints. One Amazonian says they'll be taken to the leader. Fry mocks them, saying,
"A female leader?"
Fry, shut up.
"Yes, Captain."
Disrespect and disbelief in just 3 words. As they walk, the women explain that all their men died years ago. Bender laughs and says,
With all these women around, they were probably nagged to death. Are you with me, fellas?
The Amazonians mention that they also enjoy playing basketball, and the men burst out laughing again, as if women doing sports is some kind of joke. The Amazon women stop walking. Their smiles drop, and with zero hesitation, they beat the men hard. The group is taken to meet the leader, Femputer. Yes, a computer. She appeared after the men died and now rules Amazonia. Femputer really hates men and is furious that men are on her planet. She orders them punished. The sentence? Death by snoo-snoo. The men are chained to the walls. Zap grins. Fry smirks. Kif looks horrified. That's the tone. A literal joke about forced sex treated like a fun punishment. Leela pleads for their lives. Femputer considers sparing them, until someone reminds her they mocked women's basketball. She snaps and demands the snoo-snoo continue. And then comes the weirdest sentencing in TV history. Zap will be snoo-snooed by large women, Fry gets the petite ones. Kif, called the most attractive, gets a nightmare rotation. Beautiful, then large, then petite, then large again. Before being dragged away, Kif finally shouts the truth. He loves Amy. All those awful lines were Zap's, not his. Yet the women show no mercy. They treat them like prey, literally. There are long lines of Amazonian women waiting for their next turn. Zap, stripped down to just his underwear, begs for rest.
"We need rest. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised."
Fry, desperate, pleads.
"Can't we just cuddle?"
But the answer is always the same. More snoo-snoo. Meanwhile, Amy spots a way out. She sneaks into Kif's room, holds him in her hands like a baby, and makes a run for it. Behind them, a stampede of women scream for more snoo-snoo. It's chaos. Leela and Bender try to stop Femputer, but it turns out she is just a fembot hiding inside the machine. Bender flirts with her, makes out a little, and convinces her to release the men. That empty victory is exactly why this counts as one of Bender's worst relationships. So there you have it. From dating a spaceship to breaking hearts and rewriting laws. Bender's relationships leave nothing but emotional debris. He flirts, lies, panics, and walks away the second commitment appears, while everyone else deals with the fallout. Mr. Bender Disaster, drop it in the comments. And if you think Bender should never be allowed to date again, hit like, share with Futurama fans, and subscribe for more cartoon chaos.